Hello, my name is Guruganesh Rajaraman,
And I'm Arjun Sonti.
and this is our GrooveBot software simulation. So first, I would like to go through all our components here. We have two Arduinos because this left Arduino is just our I/O expander, since we couldn't simulate that here. So we use that to get all of the extra push buttons in for our tones. These eight push buttons right here are our tones. We have the two servo motors for our arms and head for our actual robot, and we have the five push buttons here, which enable us to switch between the states. From left to right, this is play live, play recording, record, stop, and reset. And these LED lights are just an indication to show us which state we're in. And this is our speaker, which will play the generated tones from the inputs. And now Arjun will go through the code real quick.
So for our code, we set up a state machine. And so at the beginning in the setup, we basically just set up the communication to our pretend IO expander. We set up the servos and all the push buttons. And then at the beginning of our loop, we check each button to see if any of them are pressed. And if they are, then we'll update the state to that specific state. And if the reset button is clicked or just pressed less than 3 seconds, it'll still reset the servos to the original position and then go to idle. And if it's held down for 3 seconds, there's some extra logic that I'll explain later. And so at the end of our loop, it checks that state variable that was updated to see what state we're in. So first we'll go through the play live state. So in the play live state, at the beginning, it'll call the function read note to get the current note that's being pressed. And so that read note function is going to read from our IO expander to get what note is being pressed. And if there is a note and not a pause, then it'll play the note on the speaker and update the servos. And the delay for 500 milliseconds is so that that note is played for half a second before it turns off and goes to the next one. The next state is play record. So for this, we have a loop that's going to go through our recording array. And if there's a note, it'll, the same as before, it'll play the note on the speaker and update the servos. If there's no note, then it turns off the sound. And then here's our logic for the reset function. So this is going to check if you held the reset button for more than 3 seconds. And if you did, it'll clear our recording array, set the recording index back to 0, and switch the state back to idle. And in our recording function, we have a recording index variable, which allows us to append recordings if we come back to the state later. And so we first check if this index is past the maximum recordable size in our array, and if it is, we'll automatically switch back to the idle state. And so same as before, we'll read the note from the IO expander, and it'll add that note to our recording array. And if the note is not a pause, then it'll play the note on the speaker. In the recording state, it doesn't move the servos, so only the speaker goes off so that the user can hear the sound as they record. And then the same as before, it'll play that tone for half a second and then stop. And then our last function is the update servo function. This is just going to take in the note and decide how to move the servos. So right now it's just going to move the servos back and forth, but eventually in our actual product we'll make this movement work with our Android robot. So now we're going to show the simulation. So the servos go to the original position when it starts up. And I'm going to start with the play live state. So you can see the LED for play live turns on. So you can see that all the 8 push buttons work for the 8 different tones. and the servos are moving every time we press the button. Now I'm going to record a short sound. Recording state turns on. Then we go to stop. And then we can play this recording back. Go to stop again, and we can append to this recording. So I left off on the 5th button, so I'll record again and then finish it up. Stop it, and if we play this back, it should do all 8. So you can see the append recording works. And then if we want to clear that recording, well, first, if we just press the reset button, it resets the servos back to the original position. And if I press and hold this for 3 seconds, 3, it should reset the recording. So if I do play recording, nothing should play. Yeah, so it's recording array is empty. Nothing plays. Just reset. Thank you.
Thank you. This is our software simulation.